Our journey to get to the bottom of the vintage clothing phenomenon started with a pop-up at Cass, one of many hosted here in Lubbock. Vendors from all across Lubbock meet up in one location, set up their pieces, and bring in hundreds of customers throughout the day. There's a lot of competitive shopping between the customers and the vendors. No one is immune to the allure of what they might find. Everyone's looking for their favorite athlete, brand of motorcycle, or cartoon character printed on a shirt or hat. But for the vendors, this is a very important opportunity to showcase almost everything in their inventory, network with regular and new customers, and maybe make the one sale that could catapult their shop from an online store into a brick-and-mortar storefront. Owning a store and establishing a physical presence in Lubbock is a goal most vintage vendors are still working towards. However, one vendor named Dakota from our House of Thrift is close to hitting that milestone and was willing to tell us her story and her take on the vintage community.
I'm Dakota, and I own our House of Thrift. I'm from Lubbock, Texas, born and raised. If you were to go to Austin or Dallas, you just wouldn't have the same homey feel from the people here. I think Lubbock definitely we're a lot nicer, if you will, and we want to be as involved with more people in Lubbock as possible. So I will definitely say the people is going to be a lot more unique compared to other cities.
There are two components to the vintage community, the clothes and the people. While no two articles of clothing have quite the same backstory, no two vendors have quite the same motivation for selling vintage clothes. Some see it as an alternative means of profit, while other vendors are purely passionate about the art of thrifting. However, Allie from the Forgotten Youth noticed a striking parallel between thrifted clothes and children who are up for adoption, and has used vintage clothing as a conduit to spread awareness about the foster home crisis in Texas.
So my name is Alicia Borman. I also go by Allie for namesake. My store is called TFY Apparel. So TFY stands for The Forgotten Youth. Vintage means a lot to me. I think that it's a way for me to not only connect with the past, right? Like, this is literally our history. And it's crazy because everything comes back around. I work in the fashion markets now for a company called She and Sky, and everything that you're seeing, like a lot of the materials and even the patterns or the shoulder pads, it's all coming back, and it all comes back around, right? And that just kind of reinforces my idea of sustainable clothing. Like, these clothes were once worn, were once the fad, once the style, then someone threw them away and was like, oh, I need to keep up to date, or, someone passes away and everything gets donated, whatever happens. And now that style is back, and it's like the big thing. Everybody wants it. I mean, when people see my clothes, the vintage clothes, they're like, where do you get this? And it's like, this is our history, this is our past. There's such a deep connection. And like I said before, the quality of the clothes, the way that we used to make it before fast fashion and before we started to pollute the earth uncontrollably was just so much better. And so there's just so many things wrapped into it, economically feasible, but also socially you're literally able to not only add to history, but you're wearing history. Like, I'm walking around in someone else's shoes right now, and so they're so beautiful to me, and there's so much more to them than just clothes.